Hey, Haunted Heart listeners, it's October, and that means it's time to get spooky at Shocktober. Every fall, Shocktober's Paxton Manor in Leesburg, Virginia, transforms into a 4-story, terrifying, award-winning haunted house, giving thousands of patrons the scare of a lifetime. Built in the late 1800s, Paxton Manor has become the topic of many urban legends and a must-see attraction for thrill seekers across the country. The real reason for Shocktober? It's the largest fundraising event for the Ark of Loudon, a local nonprofit creating a lifetime of opportunities for children with special needs and their families.
New this year at Shocktober, Paxton Manor is transformed into the horrifying Paxton Hall, a haunted boarding school with a mysterious past. Patrons can also experience Shocktober like never before through the Trail of Terror, a 3-day passport guide to Loudoun County restaurants, wineries, breweries, places to stay, and special events, with a haunted twist. During the Shocktober 2018 season. Plus, the more places you visit, the more prizes you win, including a chance to win 2 tickets to the iHeartRadio's Jingle Ball.
With the new Fears and Beers package, Shocktober fans can get shocked in luxury as they ride in a limo or van to Loudoun County breweries and Shocktober. Located in the Haunted Manor, Shocktober attendees can also race against the clock in the new Escape Paxton, a 5-minute escape room adventure of sheer confusion.
Shocktober 2018 is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from October 5th through November 4th. Tickets are $35 online and $40 at the door. Tickets and more information at www.shocktober.org.
And who knows, you might even see someone you recognize.
Neighbors claimed they practice witchcraft.
Quiet. Everything will be
fine. No, that's not a dog or a zombie. That's just Kenny.
Ooh.
It's early, you guys. It's fucking ass early in the morning. It's not a time, but if you have ever been up this early, baby, you know exactly what time it is.
It's time to get spooky.
It is time to get spooky. The sun is coming up, and here we are with you, beautiful people.
If this is not a testament to how much I enjoy bringing you trash content, I don't know what is.
For real. I haven't woken up this early for anyone that I love.
But I'm going to tell you what. Don't worry. It's still spooky.
It is.
We still got candles.
It's real spooky. See, it's that, it's where, like, being up really, really, really early in the morning, you're up so early that you're actually just up extra late at night.
True.
Because it's still dark as hell, and we have candles going, and it's very spooky vibe. It's weird because things are going in reverse. Instead of the sun going down, it's rising. But ultimately, I feel like that just means that we have taken our spooky to the limit.
Right.
As you will.
I mean, I feel like in any other normal circumstance, this werewolf would be crashing about now. So it's like we're the Benjamin Button podcast today.
Bitch, for real. Instead of being the midnight werewolf, you're the fucking 5 a.m.
The morning
werewolf. Merewolf? The merewolf.
The morning wolf.
The morning wolf.
With his Starbucks coffee and...
I just don't... I want to make a morning wood joke, but I just can't get there. I can't get from wolf to wood, so it's fine. We'll just leave it on the table. Maybe I'll circle back later.
I'll make a note. Morning... wood.
Yeah, so bear with us. It's early as shit. It's the only time it worked for our schedules this week to record. So here we are for you.
For
my
you.
sweet, sweet name. For you. Here for you.
You know who else we're here for, though? We're here for all of our Patreon members that we've got to get to.
Yes, we are. We are. We are here for you. So we were kind of splitting it up so that everybody could have their own moment. So we have 3 folks that we're going to shout out today whose invocations we're going to do. So you're going to have a morning invocation. So this is going to be interesting.
Hope you have a good day.
Yeah. So we'll
Hope
leave
you-
the candles burning all day instead of all night. We might leave them burning all night too. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. I'm
Except
fine with that.
never
Except
leave your
no.
candles burning,
If you're leaving.
yeah. Just don't leave your candles burning if you go anywhere. Fire safety. I'm legally obligated to tell you that.
Yes, as your local firehouse slut.
As your local full-on firehouse slut, don't leave your candles burning unattended. Thank you. What if I started doing PSAs for fire safety?
Don't leave your candles or me unattended.
God bless it. That's an idea. I'm doing it. I'm just going to start flooding the media with PSAs as full-on firehouse slut. All right. Like Smokey the Bear, only like NSFW. Anywho, first up, for our Patreon folks, and we have our addressed candles here for you. Goodwill, good intention, health, wealth, happiness, and a good day, too. Mm-hmm. A good day.
Yeah, good day, good morning.
Yeah. So we say good morning and we love you to Brett R., who is a member of our Haunted Heart Harem. And we also say good morning and a we love you to Megan U.
And our next one is for Katie L. Good morning and good light.
Oh, I love that. That was very good. I'm into it.
And we also want to give a special shout out to Dale M., who
We
just-
announced actually on the last
Yes.
episode, we welcomed her to the family with an invocation.
And she has since then upgraded her status to Cannibal Cult member.
So thanks for that, Dale. Awesome. I always love it when people upgrade because it's like, ooh, like they got the bonus content and they like it, so they increased it. Like, it's just cute.
They want more.
They want more of us.
They want more.
Yeah, I don't fucking know why. Like, please come be in my real life because everybody in my real life is pretty fucking tired of me. Like, I'm a little much.
Kenny sits in awkward silence
And he's like, no.
up at the ass crack of dawn, like
Fucking-
just cutting eyes.
For real. Yep. It's a difficult life.
So at the top of the episode, you heard us talk about Paxton Manor.
Yes, Paxton Manor, also known as Shocktober, during the month of October.
During the month of October, yes.
Yes, so we are very excited to be doing some cross promotion with them. They're awesome people, and they're an awesome, awesome, awesome cause. And another reason we're excited about it, and we want you to know about it, is because
We're gonna fucking be in it.
yes, we are. We signed on with them as actors for their 2018. What year is it? I almost said 2017. Oh, God.
shit.
We signed up with them for their 2018 season as actors. So we will actually be there in the manor. I will be there most nights. Kenny will be there, I think, about half the nights. But come fucking there and get scared. And let us know if you are like local or around the area and you do want to come to Shocktober, or if you want to fucking travel here and come to Shocktober, let us know when you'll be here so that we can like do a meetup
Spooky
/ so
meetup.
that we know that you'll be there.
Yes.
Yes.
It was such a really exciting experience because Katie and I have neither. Can I speak today? Neither Katie
They know
or
it's early,
I,
baby.
neither
Be
Katie
gentle.
or I have surprisingly ever
Worked on a
acted
house.
or worked
Yeah.
in a haunted house.
Yeah.
So this is completely new for us. It's definitely been like a bucket list thing,
For sure.
if you will.
Well, because we always do, I know we've talked about like our massive Halloween party stuff on here before, like on the show before, but we do that every year, or we have done that every year so far. And so we always put so much into that. Like we start planning that in like March. Well, really, we start planning it after.
Literally the day after
Yeah.
the party. We're
But it kicks
coming up
into
with
high
ideas.
gear sometime around winter, like end of winter, and then we just like are working at that like straight through. And so we never really had the time to commit to working something like a haunted house, but now that we've kind of eased our schedules up a little bit and are doing our shindig every other year, now we can kind of have a little fun this October and do some of the stuff that we missed out on planning our own thing,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah, I have to say, going to the manor, like I think it was really, really cool because it's an actual like old,
Yeah.
like legitimately haunted
Right. Building.
building.
Yeah.
And from what we were told and from what we have read, like even some of the actors there have like experienced weird, creepy things happening like during their downtime. Like if there's no line coming through at that second, like they've experienced things. One thing that I thought was really kind of interesting was that our volunteer coordinator said that there was always a butterfly that was hanging around
Yeah.
the front of the house, especially when she was there, like giving these, and doing these every year. There was like always a butterfly, a little friend hanging around.
Same
so
blue
it's
and
like,
black butterfly.
Yeah, it's like the same blue and black butterfly. So
I think those are empress butterflies. Don't quote me. There's some specific type. I used to know the name of that.
it's a Yas Queen butterfly.
Yas Queen. I'm into it.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I'm a little like you're first of all, we don't know if we'll be together when
Yeah.
we go in.
Well, we auditioned together, so they may be giving us a room. I don't want to tell you which room, but they may be giving us a room that the two of us will work. But then on some of the nights when I'm there and Kenny's not there, I might get shuffled around. So it just depends on staffing stuff. But if you are coming, do let us know so that we can kind of arrange to see you, because that would be awesome.
Yes, it would be.
And do a little meet and greet,
Little
honey.
meet and
And we'll
greet,
be
yep.
looking good. You know, we'll be looking fresh for you because we'll be in makeup.
Face will be beat.
For sure. With a fucking baseball bat. Probably.
Yeah, so just reading up a little bit on the mansion or manor. I guess it's the same
Manor.
thing, but I like manor.
Manor.
The manor.
Manor.
So it's been through like it's been through some things.
She's been through some things. I like it.
I don't really get like a huge negative energy,
No, I didn't
from
get
it.
that when we were there.
but I think because it has such a history, I mean, if you research it, there's information on Native Americans and their spirituality in the area of Leesburg. There's information on colonial Leesburg and battles and wars that have taken place by the manor. And so a lot of that history sort of gets mixed in with the paranormal aspect of the building itself. Just due to the land with, the Native Americans and their beliefs and then, of course, with like the bloody battles and wars and all of that stuff, that all tends to bring about superstition and, paranormal occurrences. Mm-hmm. But I do have to say that while we were there, I did not feel like it felt, I don't want to say like home, But
I mean, it
But
did. No, it
kind
did
of.
feel rather. Yeah, it wasn't when I didn't feel any negative energy, but it was similar to when I went to the. Oh shit! Her name just totally left my mind. It was like when I went to the house in San Jose. Oh man, Sarah. What was her name? It's not coming to me. Anyway, the really crazy, confusing house in the Remington
Winchester.
Yeah, the Winchester house. That's what it is, Sarah Winchester. It was like when I went there, where it was not creepy feeling, but it was clearly like clearly there's some spiritual residue, as you will, some spiritual discharge in that place, and I definitely felt that in Paxton Manor too, and I liked it. It feels comfortable. So I would say it kind of felt a little bit like home because it was very comfy.
yeah.
Like I was into it. I didn't feel out of place.
I could see living there and turning it into a cute practical magic style witch house.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it felt
It
like.
has a little bit of a cottage vibe,
Yeah.
which is cute. I'm into it.
The only thing that I could really find is that was supposedly a man who lived there at one point, and his name was Jedediah Carver.
Oh my God. Jedediah.
Jedediah Carver, who supposedly he was exiled from Leesburg because he was into animal cruelty.
Oh no, you can't do that.
So they got chased from the. I'm envisioning pitchforks, fire, lots of fire, and him fleeing.
at least
into
it wasn't
distance.
molesting children, but
Well,
fuck
I think,
you if
well,
you
I think some people
are
say
cruel
that
to
he
animals.
receded into the house, not into the house, but he,
He just
supposedly-
fucking went against one of the walls and just fucking disappeared into the wall. He receded into the home.
me whenever anything awkward's going on.
He just
Somebody,
disappeared.
there's a drastic situation at work. Shannon, we need you now. Me up against the wall.
Just
Just
receding.
No, but they say, I guess supposedly the urban legend is that he fled into, supposedly there's an underground lake
Oh, okay.
that he fled to.
Seems legit.
But that's the urban legend, and I think
Right.
actually that was one of their themes in previous years. I think it was last year because they were telling us they did the Carver house.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that was one of the themes last year. So one thing that I really appreciate is how we get the history of the house into their haunt themes. Because even
Right.
this year with Paxton Hall being, a home for children, that's it. The house itself was also an orphanage at one point. Mm-hmm. So you get a lot of that. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's got a lot of heart. It's got a ton of heart. A lot of the people who organize it and do the build, they start in April and they work straight through till October. And a lot of them work for the Ark of Loudon, which is the organization that is kind of over Shocktoberfest, and the organization that it benefits because it is all for charity basically. Mm-hmm. Nobody's paid. It all goes to this organization that helps special needs kids with education and job placement and engagement, and that's really cool too. So it's got a ton of heart and it's a really good cause.
Yeah, and I'm into that because we're into that because we're the Haunted Heart. So
Absolutely.
we put our heart into this, just like they put their heart into that.
We put our heart into this trash. for you.
Literally.
Yes. True.
So that, if you have not guessed, is actually going to be kind of like our theme for this episode.
Kind of like it. Not the theme, but like the theme.
Like the theme.
It's going to be like the theme.
Like it.
That's another word that people love. Did you read the comments that we weren't exactly so subtle with our not for children last episode?
I thought, okay, let me just clarify.
We're not
Is that
upset.
a correction? We're not upset.
We're
at
literally
all.
not upset. We were just thought it was hilarious.
You could get on there and tell me Kenny's a fat piece of shit.
As long as you give a 5-star review with it, baby, I don't give a shit.
See, Katie wants you
Honey,
to give
you
a
could
5-star
call me a
review.
twat. Slap them 5 stars on there and I'm going to be just fine. Sure.
I kind of don't care about the stars. So you could call me a fat piece of shit and give me a 1 star, and I'll, baby, okay, hey, best friend.
I'm gonna tell you what. Fuck
Mom,
off.
is
Don't
that
you
you?
do that.
Mom, is that you?
I will not feel the same about you.
I mean, I might highlight you on an episode, call you out.
Highlight you. I might
And read you
highlight
for an hour and 13 minutes straight.
No,
but
that sounds
that's
like
fine.
a Patreon benefit, honestly, though. Like,
What if it was Patreon members get us reading negative critiques?
you just want us to read you like
Just
a
reading
book?
them. Yeah. So,
Anywho. No, we're not upset.
Well,
we
I-
love all of our reviews. And if you haven't reviewed us yet, then give us a review
yeah.
right now. 5 stars.
Yeah.
And
Pause it
tell
right
me,
now.
And tell me something nice about myself. And tell Kenny something mean.
Please validate us.
Please validate us. Please.
So, in going into this theme and researching everything, I kind of wanted to sort of kick it off, I guess, and just talk about what or why we love to be scared. Like, why do people go pay money to be frightened? And I'm interested in your input on
Honey,
this.
I just look in the mirror. It's free.
Girl, I could say the same right now.
It's true. You're a beautiful man, but it is early in the morning. And
There's
you are
no
wrapped
telling.
in a luxe black comfy robe. And you are wearing a shirt with a banana peel on it. And you
And socks with skulls on them.
Oh my God. I came to Kenny's door this morning. Of course, I had pumped myself full of cold brew already. But I came to his door this morning and brought breakfast because it's due to my crazy schedule that we had to do this. So I kind of felt bad. So I come to the door and I knock like 3 times. And then finally he opens the door and his eyes aren't even open yet. Like it's very clear that he literally just got out of his bed when I
Literally.
knocked on the door.
The knock woke me up. No, I'd actually set my alarm for 30 minutes prior to when you were going to be. I set it for 30 minutes prior to when you said you were going to be here, and then I set one for 30 minutes after you said you were going to be here. So I'd actually just woken myself up through the alarm, but then decided, okay, she's not here.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
It's just not happening. We don't have a podcast anymore.
and
Bye.
then I laid back down, and then you knocked on my door
Yeah.
like the angel of death.
Like the angel of death bearing Dunkin' Donuts and your favorite tea.
Yeah. So if you hear me, yeah.
Yeah, if you hear any swallowing, just fucking sue me, you know? No, this is not ASMR. They don't like ASMR.
So yeah, what I'm interested in your take on this because
Hot take.
here's some
Hot
tea.
goss
Here's
with
some
Kate.
tea. Katie is not a fan of the haunted house experience and going through
Yes.
a haunted
Yeah,
house.
okay,
Let
so
me
you have to-
clarify
yes.
that. The haunted house experience, meaning
Myself
enjoying going through them
Yes.
herself.
Yes. It's interesting. So I love haunted houses. I love the idea of haunted houses. I love that people go to haunted houses. I'm very excited to work in a haunted house. But going through myself as a patron, I just never really. I have 2 basic reactions to fear, right? Any human, you got fight, you got flight.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to flee first. That's going to be my go-to, right? Because I'm low to the ground. I'm sturdy woman. Not necessarily. Well, I do have the body of a brawler, so let's be real. But my first instinct is going to be to flee. But in a haunted house, you know, you're there in the conga line and you're trapped and you can't really flee. Like, they're not built for you to flee. So then we're left with one reaction, and that is fight. And I'm just not trying to hit somebody in the face. So logically, I know it's a person. Logically, I know that it is not a demon from hell come to rake my soul over the coals. But at the same time, that gut reaction for me is so strong that, like, I'm just not trying to fucking hit anybody in the face. So when we go through them, And it too, I think it triggers like an anxiety thing for me. Like when I'm waiting, going through it is one thing, but waiting to go through is a totally different thing. Like I think we'd have a totally different experience if I didn't have to wait at all, and if you just pulled me right into it.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't know what I was doing at all, and you just pulled me right in.
Yeah.
It's the waiting that triggers like this massive sense of anxiety in me that for me is not so much enjoyable. And it's more about, again, waiting than actually being in it. Because when you're in it, it's kind of like, it gets more fun. But yeah, so I'm kind of slow to warm up to the whole haunted house like experience for myself personally. And I had some bad experiences when I was young too. Like I went to one with my mom when I was a kid, and I chickened out and didn't want to go in. And this was when I was like a kid, really young. So I chickened out and like went to sit in the car, and these clowns who were working the line, like my mom's friend who was with us told the clowns that I had gone to the car. And so they went to the car and they literally shook the car back and forth and like banged on the glass and like sang to me through the glass, which I get that like they thought it was funny, but like if somebody taps out, like you got to let them tap out. 'Cause at that point, it's not fun anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
If you have tapped out clearly by going to the car, like them invading that, I think is like it's not cool. And I don't hold it against them, because I think that they thought that they were giving an experience, which is fine. But I think they maybe got a little bit carried away, because you have to have a safe space in order to have a scary space. And like, the safe space got totally invaded. And I ended up like threatening to, like later on when my mom came back, they eventually went away. And I stayed in the car, and later on I had to unlock the doors to let her in, which took some cajoling, let me tell you. So I unlocked the door and like slid over the gear shift and sat in the passenger side. And then the minute my ass hit the passenger side seat, the passenger side door opened, because I had to unlock it for mom to get in the driver's side.
Yeah.
And one of those fucking clowns was like right there, like at the side of my face. And I think, God, I was maybe even under 10. And he was just standing there, like, with his face right near mine, waiting for me to turn and look at him. And I was like, I'm going to hit you in the face if you don't leave me alone. I'm literally going to punch you in the face. I understand that you're just trying to be a person, but I'm still going to hit you if you don't leave. And then he eventually did. But it was like, it was a couple, that was one experience. And then another experience was at a volunteer fire department growing up. And my dad was a volunteer firefighter for a while. And we're not going to think about that we're not going to dwell on that too long with some of my catchphrases for the show. But my dad was a volunteer firefighter for a while. And he, of course, knew everybody at the station. And they used to do a haunted house as one of their major fundraisers. Oh, so, yeah. Of course, everyone there knew me, right? Because I was at the station. And, like, they knew Katie. So they all knew my fucking name. And I still remember this one room was this guy who had, like, dismembered this body or something. And he was insane. And there was a TV in there. And he was just super crazy. And there's a body on the coffee table. And he just kept saying my name and talking directly to me when we went through that room. And I lost my shit. And I was even younger than the clown experience then. I was way too fucking young for that shit. And it was horrifying.
Yeah.
So...
I had a similar experience. Not really similar. I remember one of the first haunts that I went through, and I was scared out of my fucking mind. Like before, I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah,
I'm ready."
Psyched.
I was pumped and I was psyched. And then I got there, and I was young. I was maybe 10.
Okay.
Maybe 10-ish.
All right.
And I remember going there, or I might be aging myself. Whatever year the first Star Wars Episode 1 came out.
Got it. With you.
Because there was Darth Maul.
Okay.
The red-faced demon.
Oh,
not
he was
demon,
in the
but
haunted
with the
house?
horns.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
I had a shirt because I loved me some Darth Maul. I fucking hate Star Wars.
Yeah. It's weird.
But
That's very weird.
And it makes sense, though. But Darth Maul was like, you're fucking awesome.
He's actually
and I
a
loved
Sith.
him.
Yeah.
I
mean, he looks like a demon
but looks
for
like a
you.
demon.
He's a demon for you, but
Yes,
he's actually
I know he's a Sith. But I was like, I gravitated towards his character, and I was like, fuck yeah, you're awesome. So I had like all Darth Maul merchandise, like decked out.
Oh,
honey.
the Darth Maul shit. You know, there's an animated series about him. He's like the head of some crime syndicate.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of cool. They have a witch planet.
I've grown past that now.
Oh, okay, it's fine. I'm a fucking nerd, so you can just live your life. You were exactly 10 years old
Yeah.
when that movie came out.
Bam. There you go.
Good job. I looked it up.
So, yeah. So I was wearing a Darth Maul shirt with his fucking face on it, and then going through a haunt, and a guy actually had, because this was a cheap ass like local haunt, just FYI.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Volunteer, and they had a Darth Maul mask on, and would tease me, and they just kept teasing me.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like they knew my name or anything. They just kept teasing me. They saw that I was like really afraid, and I was like huddled up against my mother, and so they just kept like teasing at me.
See, that's the thing. You can never
calling
show the
me.
fear. You have to just like be like, this is fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
You have to be, again, that dog. For the second week in a row, we will reference that dog with the flames around him
Everything's fine.
because he is real.
Yeah. And so they went in on me and started calling me like, why are you being a mama's boy? Like, they took it out of haunting for me and
Yeah.
scaring into bullying almost.
Yeah, which isn't cool. That's fucked.
And I was like, and that like sort of stuck with me for quite a while.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I just think that takes the haunting and the scaring aspect of it, and so now you're just trying to like, it just felt like an attack personally.
Yeah, now
on
you're
me.
now you're just bullying somebody, which isn't cool.
Yeah, and so it took me a while to get back into like it was years. Like, I wouldn't go through a haunted house because I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, it just kept bringing back like those weird memories. And which was always so weird because I fucking love, like, Halloween is our season, and like I'm all about it, and I'm all about scaring people. So it was just, it just felt like it was not right, or it just felt weird that I couldn't bring myself to go through one. So, and then I eventually did, and I came at it from a more mature as like point of view, and then I started looking at it through a creative lens.
Yeah, that helps too.
And then I was like, okay, this is fucking awesome. And so now I can't get enough. And now I'm an addict.
Yeah.
And now I'm in one.
I just haven't, like, for me, I think it comes down to a control thing, and I have to be in control.
Yeah.
Like, of pretty much every aspect of my life. I can maybe count on one hand. I can maybe count on, like, one finger the areas of my life that I'm able to not be in control. If that. But for me, it comes down to, like, if I'm going through a haunt, I'm not the person in control. And so I have a great deal of anxiety surrounding that. So maybe I should fucking work through that shit with my therapist this season.
Maybe.
And just be like, visit a haunted house every week. Learn to not be in control, baby.
Maybe.
Or I could just be a controlling Virgo bitch and just live that way.
True.
And just be the one in the haunt scaring everybody.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because if you usually have, like, me, I'm a very jumpy person.
Yeah.
Going through a haunt, like, I'm a jumper, and I curse a lot.
Yeah.
That's like my initial reaction. Like, if I
imagine cursing a lot.
If someone ever, like, truly, like, popped out of my somewhere in the darkness to kill me, my last words would be fuck.
Of course, yeah, exactly like that. Yeah.
Shit. So I think what's interesting is you see a lot of, like, after that initial scare and that reaction, you get laughter.
Yeah.
So it's that fine line between, like, horror and comedy, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, like, you have that initial fear, but then, like, once you realize it's,
once you realize it's not like a mortal threat, then you're laughing because your friend freaked out and
fell over
because you freaked out. and
piss themselves.
Right. Are crying and vomiting on the ground. It's fine.
And we pay for that.
And we pay for I wonder if I could have like an all year haunted attraction that is myself, and you just pay me to scare you in various ways.
Write that down for a Patreon benefit.
Like similar to a dominatrix, but like specifically horror themed. Maybe we'll make a video for the Patreon.
Yeah.
No.
So, but there are places that take it to that extra level.
An unhealthy level.
And an unhealthy level.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar with the haunt industry, there is one in particular. There's several that consider themselves extreme haunts. So we're starting to get, or have been for a while, getting to that point where people just want something more than just a boo scare house.
Right.
Some
With the
people,
usual rules, right? Because everybody's familiar with the rules. Even if you've never worked in a haunted house, you're familiar with the rules of, they usually can't touch you. Sometimes they can touch you. But most of the time, if they do touch you, it has to be with a prop. It can't be with their hands.
Right.
And there's rules about you being able to see and visibility and things like that are very specific and tied, just to say, to their insurance. Because if something fucking happens to you, they're on the line.
Yeah.
So, but then there are places who just say,
well,
why not? Why not just not have any of that and just fuck you up?
Yeah, it's just, I think people, I'm not gonna say you've probably got some issues to work through if you want to actively be tortured, not. And I'm not talking in a sexual sense. Yeah. I'm not talking in a sexual sense.
I'm just gonna say that maybe you should have you heard the good word about BDSM? Have you? Because I feel like if you're looking for a torture house for Halloween, maybe just try going to your local dominatrix, babe, because it seems like you have some stuff that's built up that we need to just work through.
Yeah. There's one in particular, McKelvey Manor, who is, they're infamous. They've been featured on several documentaries. They're on a documentary on Netflix, and it's ran by this guy, Russ McKelvey. And it was originally in California. I think it was in San Diego. But that location has since closed, and he is now operating in Nashville, Tennessee.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize they had moved to Tennessee. That's since the documentary was done, right?
Yes.
What's the name of that documentary, by the way?
I can't remember. It's on Netflix. It's something about haunters.
Yeah. If you search Haunter,
it's too early in the morning for me to think of it.
It's fine. I'll look it up.
But he's operating in Nashville, Tennessee, and also apparently in Huntsville, Alabama as well.
Huh.
But I'm fairly certain, and don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but I think the Huntsville, Alabama location is literally a friend of his in a backyard in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it started as a haunt that was in his backyard.
Right, but we're talking about San Diego here. Right. So we're talking about a neighborhood. People
Alabama's
are around.
Just like a dude.
Alabama's another
fucking
level.
impound lot that you just fucking
I would be
go get murdered
I would
at.
be less prone to go to a torture haunt in Alabama. I wouldn't go through one anyway.
Yeah.
I get the allure of it. So essentially they people sign waivers to go through, and he has a waiting list that's has thousands and thousands of names through it.
Which is crazy.
And he puts people through evaluations and sort of interviews them, checks their mental stability, yes, and I think they have to get a physical and all of that good stuff. And so they go, and they're essentially bound, usually gagged, blindfolded, what have you.
Well, doesn't he arrange a place for you to be?
Yeah, he arranges a meetup.
And then But the
And-
meetup is like you're there and nobody's there, and then he
Yeah.
rolls up in a van and like blindfolds you
Yeah.
and hog ties you and throws you in the back,
back
of it.
of a van and
Yeah.
takes you to the haunt.
Yeah.
And
I think that documentary, by the way, is Haunters, the Art of the Scare.
yes.
And it is on Netflix.
Yeah. So
Anywho, so that's how it begins.
yeah, so that's how it begins, and you essentially like, and he films it too, which is also a little weird. Like for me, yeah, and I think it's partly, supposedly, it's partly so that nobody can come back and say that something happened that didn't.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that's like, you kind of enjoy watching people being tortured.
If you,
I feel like.
Yeah, I've seen that documentary, and if you watch it, keep an open mind or whatever, but if you watch that documentary and you see the glee in his face that, like, as he's filming, like, right in, I mean, there's somebody that's, like, freaking out, losing their fucking mind, and there's, like, spiders being dropped all over him, real spiders, and he's, like, right in their face with the camera, and, like, just his overall demeanor, he is, like, I feel like he's getting off on it.
Yeah, I kind of.
It's very uncomfortable. And, like, it's, like, this shaky cam thing. It's, like, I feel like it's weird homemade
It's like
porn
live
to him.
action. It's like snuff films.
Yeah. Yes. It very much feels like a snuff film.
And so you go through, and they say that there's no, like, waterboarding, but there's, like, simulations of, quote, simulations of drowning, but I've seen some of the films, and they're, like, literally holding people's heads underwater. And I'm like...
Yeah. And waterboarding people.
I'm like, no. There was actually one of the people came out. There's an article. Let's see, I've got it pulled up here. So there was a person who said that her experience, last name was Milligan, said that her experience was traumatic. She said she gave the haunt a positive review in her, quote, exit interview video because she wanted the haunt to produce a video of her tour so she could have evidence of what happened to her. Smart girl. Mm-hmm. I like it. The video, which the haunt produced and posted on YouTube, shows her last name is Milligan, being pushed to the ground, pulled around by her hair, and slapped while being picked up and driven in a van to McKamey's home. Shortly after they arrive at the home, the screen goes blank and a subtitle appears saying, "I cannot show you what takes place." When the footage resumes, Milligan is lying in a freezer in a few inches of dark-colored water, blindfolded while actors pour water over her head. Mm-hmm. Milligan appears cooperative and willing to play her part in the experience. Early in the experience, she appeared slightly defiant and even amused, then more concerned as the tour intensifies. Later in the video, another section of footage is edited out. When the action resumes, Milligan is soaking wet and seems terrified. Milligan said that the video was edited to hide the worst. She said the video doesn't show the part where she was forced to lie down, her hands bound in a shallow pool of water with a cage over it. The actors repeatedly pushed her head underwater, her long hair wrapping around her neck as she begged them to let her go home, she said. She's quoted as saying, "I'm going to die here. I'm going to drown. My hair is wrapping around my neck and I start freaking out. I'm telling them I can't breathe and they're just laughing and doing it more." McKamey would not confirm the existence of the cage, but he said there's a lot of water involved in the haunt and people will feel like they are drowning. He says, "We do not waterboard. We do not even kind of waterboard." He says it's psychological what we're doing. They're safe all the time. So, I feel like a lot of people go through this because they want to feel like they can take it, you know? Like, I feel like I can see the allure of, like, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Or, like, I want to do it. Because I could see... I think you would have to be in, like... I think some people just want that experience so that way they can sort of validate their badassness, in a sense.
Yeah. So that they can say that they did it,
Yeah.
right?
And say that they did it and said that they went through it and say that, oh, the manor didn't beat me. But I think you just have to suspend your pride for a second here. Like, this isn't haunting.
Yeah.
And I hate the fact that they're sort of classified
Marketing it as a
haunted
yeah,
house.
it's not.
It's not a haunt. This
Torture
is
house.
This is a torture house. This is torture. This is torture simulation, I guess, / actual torture, really, if you ask me. Because like you said, you need that safe space in order to have that scare space. And they don't let you just tap out.
Right.
That's-
No, you can't.
like,
That's
you can't
actually
just,
in
like-
the rules. You can't.
Right. Like, only it's like if you become physically unable to move, then, or do anything, then they'll, like, pull the plug on it and pull you out. But, yeah. And I think since they've moved, they've started this thing where, like, if you're sending in your application for this, then they give you tasks to perform prior to going in, and one of them is you're supposed to dress in a bunny or like a onesie, go to your local mall, set up a table and chair, and have people convince you not to go through McKamey Manor.
Weird.
So
But
I'm
his
like,
whole purpose is for you to go through it anyway.
yeah. Or he supposedly says that he tries to give them every option to not go through it, and then once they do, it's like, well, you're fucked now. Told you.
You just have to see. There's really no way for us to describe this guy, and I don't want to slander anybody. I mean, do your own thing, but it's not. For me, it's not a haunted house. You can't call it a haunted house. It doesn't. For me, it doesn't have any heart.
No, there's no heart.
It's all about the torture element, and I think that should be its own separate genre, because what's happening is, like, people are getting, like, people in the haunt industry are becoming radicalized because they're trying to compete with things like this, and it's like, that's something totally separate.
Yeah.
It's a totally different experience, and
the moment that someone actually dies from this bullshit,
yeah, it's going to fuck everybody
then it's going to
over.
fuck everybody
Right.
up. So you're fucking everybody over,
Right.
by not
Doing
taking the
dangerous shit like
precautions
this.
that you
Yes.
fucking need, because this shit is dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit what your passion is. If someone tells you fucking no, then and you don't honor that,
Yeah. You have to be able to tap out. There's no, I don't believe in experiences that don't have a safe word, that don't have an opt-out. Because I
Right.
think at all times what's important is that even when you're not in control, you are sort of in control because you can tap out at any time.
Right.
And that's got to be the case. And if it's not, then it's abuse.
yeah.
So, even if the person previously agreed to it, and then in the moment they, like, it's too much for them and they have to, like, opt out, like, you need to let them. If you don't, at that point, it's abuse.
Yeah.
But you guys, we really encourage you to watch the documentary Haunters on Netflix. I think it's still up. And
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's still on Netflix. It's really good. There are a lot of other haunted attractions there that have a ton of heart, but you have to see that Russ guy. He's really, something is something.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just watch the doc. Just watch the doc.
not slandering anybody.
Just
but
watch the doc. We'll talk about it.
You know,
in our closed Facebook group.
We'll
talk about it.
We'll post some of the videos and stuff on, and we'll talk about it on our Facebook group. But it's not my bag.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
definitely
there's
its
no
own
art.
thing.
There's no art to it.
Yeah.
No heart. No art.
No farts.
No farts.
No.
No farts about it. I won't go through it.
No farts about it. It's not for me.
It's not for me. Will not.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I thought it might be fun to talk about a real haunted house.
Wait.
A real haunted house.
You mean besides the one that we're in now?
Technically, this is a haunted apartment.
Yeah.
Zoning.
Spooky apartment.
Spooky apartment. Spooky mint. Yes. So I thought it would be cool. You know, it's been a while. It's been a minute, and I got that itch
There's a cream for that, I'm sure.
And I'm not talking about vaginal itch. No. It's been a while since I've covered a murder case, and Mama's jonesing for some murder.
Ooh, okay.
So I figured we would talk about this, like, really interesting case that I had previously not heard about until I started researching for this episode. Usually, because I consume true crime in all of its glorious, glorious forms, it's very rare that a case... Sometimes I'll think that I discovered, like, a new case that I haven't heard about, and as I'm reading, I'll get, like, 4 paragraphs in, and then I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah, I remember this case. It was from, like, Deadly Women or whatever, or one of my other embarrassing, like, Lifetime channel true crime shows. This one I actually had not heard of previously, so I wanted to cover it. It is... the murder of Robert McKelvey. But first, we're going all the way back to the 1800s.
Oh, okay. Time machine. Spooky time machine. Hopping in the time machine.
That was incredible. That was great. I want to put that on my iPod because it's 2005. Anywho, 1885. Balthazar Kreischer. Kreischer. Kenny insists that I say Kreischer.
Kreischer. This is how it's pronounced.
All right, sure.
I know this because I also stumbled upon this and
Yes.
YouTubed how to say the name, like a professional podcaster would.
Okay. All right, sure. I'm the pretty one on this show. It's just...
For now.
That's my role. No, I'm kidding. You're the pretty one, too. We're the pretty ones. Okay, so 1885, Balthazar Kreischer, a wealthy 19th century brick manufacturer, built twin mansions for his sons Edward and Charles on top of the hill at 4500 Arthur Kill Road in New York. Yes.
Arthur Kill.
Yes. Lots of irony there. When I first started reading about this, I was like, is this real? Is this like an urban legend that I have stumbled upon because it's called Arthur Kill Road and it's a haunted mansion and this guy's a brick manufacturer? The fuck? They had a brick factory apparently. And I thought that was fake because it sounded like something like underwater basket weaving or whatever. We run a brick factory. Like I thought it was a joke. But
Why? I can see it's a factory to make bricks.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't think about it being 1885, and like in 1885, you can't really right. In 1885, you can't really like just run to the fucking Lowe's and pick up some brick. Like you have to have brick factory. So they had this really. He was a Bavarian immigrant. Kreischer was, and he.
Funny, I just had a Bavarian cream donut
In honor of him. Thank you, Balthazar. You're awesome. So he's this really wealthy Bavarian immigrant who has this brick factory. He builds these 2 twin mansions for his boys, his sons, Edward and Charles, and everything is awesome, right? They're super rich. They're obscenely wealthy. And their neighborhood was actually called Kreischerville at that time. So that gives you an idea of how rich they were. Unfortunately, a year later, in 1886, Balthazar Kreischer died. Unfortunately. So a few years later, something even like worse happened. The bad luck continued. And the brick factory actually burned to the ground.
Ooh.
So the boys, Arthur and Charles, who were the heirs of the Kreischer fortune.
To say it was not a brick house.
It was not. It was not letting it all hang out, shall we say? God, we just dated the fuck out of ourselves. Good Lord. All the 16-year-olds who listen to this show are like, oh,
us.
no. I know, but they're probably like,
I'm
what?
like Katie. I don't think Brick House was ever in our fucking CD Discmans when we were...
I beg to fucking differ with you, sir. I will have you know that in the early 2000s, you could find Lil Katie dancing to Brick House at a community festival downtown in our hometown.
Okay.
And I was getting it. So, yes, so the brick factory burns down, and Arthur and Charles are left to try to rebuild. They try to rebuild it. They try to kind of, like, get it back on track. Unfortunately, they aren't able to, and it becomes more than they can handle, and the family basically falls into, I won't say poverty, because if you still live in a fucking mansion... I don't really consider you impoverished, but they fall into less wealth than they had before.
Misfortune.
Misfortune, yes. That's a good word for it. So in 1894, Edward Kreischer, unfortunately, the family falling into ruin was more than he could take, and he committed suicide in his mansion because of trouble with the business. He shot himself in the head. It was the right temple. Some sources say it was at the factory. Most sources say it was at his home, at his mansion home. The other home that was built for Arthur, I think I called Edward Charles earlier in this story, and that was wrong. So Edward and Arthur. Edward commits suicide in his home. The mansion that was built for Arthur, the other brother, is torn down. Eventually, it falls into disrepair. And Edward's manor is kept up, sort of, and becomes kind of like this creepy, weird, like haunted mansion type thing. So that's like the local folklore. So that when we talk about Kreischer House or Kreischer Manor or Kreischer Mansion, that's what we mean, is Edward's house that he reportedly committed suicide in. And as we talked about on the last episode, places where someone has committed an act like that often have a certain vibe about them. There's an unsettling vibe.
I think it leaves a mark.
Yeah. It hangs
Almost.
heavy in the air.
Yeah.
And to me, it's almost like a tangible, like, it's almost tangible, the suffering in the air that you can just feel.
Yeah.
For years and years and years and years after. So it's that kind of creepy sort of vibe. After that, the brick factory was finally like closed completely. And the mansion just kind of changes hands every couple years. And they mentioned that there have been a couple businesses that have tried to locate themselves there. They've tried to do a couple things with it, and it just seems like nothing pans out. There was a place where we're from that was like that. It was this big red barn, and it was actually really close to my childhood home. And it was a place like that where it was supposedly cursed because every business that would come in there. You remember that place?
Yeah, I know the barn. See it. You see it every time you go back home.
There was a restaurant that was in there. There was like a couple businesses. There was a country western store, which was my favorite.
I remember the country western store. I bought
that was in the 90s.
Had a little snake. It was a little stone. They sold these little stones that had totems carved in them.
Yes.
And I had a little like jade green one with a snake in it.
I loved that place. I was very actually sad when they closed. But during World War I, obviously anything German or close to German was uncomfortable for everybody. So
awkward.
So the name of the town was changed from Kreischerville to Charleston. And most traces of the Kreischer family disappeared. But the house still stood. In 1996, the mansion became a restaurant. Patients?
Was it a hospital?
Oh, my. Oh, my. That reminds me of that restaurant, and no, completely unrelated, but that restaurant in Vegas where they serve those, like, crazy burgers, and the waitresses are all nurses.
Oh, yeah.
And they are all
like
waitresses because it's that type of, like,
burgers.
sexist type thing. But
Yeah.
I would probably still check it out because they're really hot, But also I would be like, girl, are you here on your own, Will? Just making sure. Are you being sexy on your own account? Or is somebody making you be sexy? Because you just got to be sexy on your own if you want to. But if you don't want to, you don't got to.
Hashtag Katie, sexy on your own.
Sexy on your own, baby. Sexy on your own free will. Anyway, so the restaurant is there for a while. Patrons of the restaurant regularly complain about strange happenings and supernatural experiences in the house. Of course, it, like all of the other businesses that occupy the house, is short-lived. And we have it changing hands, the property changing hands every couple of years. So if we left the story there, it would just be like any other strange, haunted, potentially haunted place in your local neighborhood.
Yeah.
But we're going to fast forward because every town kind of has that like haunted, spooky place where supposedly something really bad happened a long time ago.
That's a spook house.
That's the spook house. Don't go up there to the spook house. And the kids like dare each other to go up on the stoop and yada, yada, yada. So we left it there. That's what the story would be. But we're going to fast forward to 2005. In 2005, the primary caretaker of the house is a man named Joseph Young. He's 27 years old. And he has connections with the mob
Oh.
in that
okay.
area.
Most of us have connections to, like, the internet. Cell phone service. Papa John's Pizza.
Through the internet.
Through the internet.
It's pizzahalfprice.com.
Some of us have connections to the mob.
Yeah. Yes. So the mob still very much a real thing. It's not the era of Scarface, but it's still very much alive. Organized crime is. And Joseph Young man, 27, is connected with the mob. So in April of 2005, a confidential informant whose name was never released comes to the FBI and says, hey, I have details on this case where basically I was present for this event when 5 men murdered and dismembered a guy at Kreischer House.
Ugh.
And the FBI says, what now?
I'm sorry, what?
What happened?
Can you imagine the FBI agent that just can't deal that day and he's like, delete message.
He's like waiting for his he hasn't had his coffee yet and he's pissed off. Yeah.
Me at the FBI office.
For real. Yes. So this confidential informant comes and says, I have details on this murder. And this was April of 2005. So according to this informant, the man who was murdered, Robert McKelvey, had been also involved in the mob. So it's kind of, from that perspective, it's a standard mob hit, right? Because these things happen very often in the mob, where one person who, I'm not going to say he's part of the family, but he works closely with the mob. He's part of the organized crime community. He racked up a bunch of debt with the mob boss of that area, whose name I do know because I did the research, whose name I will not say on air because I'm not trying to get whacked off.
All right, I won't go there.
Generally, I'm not opposed to whacking off. Like, I will whack you. Let's just leave it where it is.
Just leave it.
Not trying to get murdered by the mob. So you can find it online if you're really that interested, but why would you be? So the mob boss, he's, this Robert McKelvey guy has racked up a bunch of debt with this mob boss. The mob boss is getting kind of tired of him. Robert McKelvey is known to have a big mouth, they say. And there's this interesting tension with the mob where they say in some circles, they say that you're closer than family because you've done terrible shit and they know about all the terrible shit that you've done. And so in that way, you're under their thumb. But at the same time, if I rack up hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt with you and then you go to prison, I don't have to pay any money to anybody.
Right.
So it's not like at Capital One where you take out a loan and it fucking follows you every single place that you go. It's not like that. So there's this interesting tension of like people who have, gotten themselves into like a tough spot. You can ask them to do shit for you that you maybe wouldn't ask somebody else to do, but at the same time, you always have to be worried about them squealing on you. And that's what they were worried about with Robert McKelvey, reportedly. They were worried that he was going to roll over on them to the police and become an informant. So they figured they would nip that problem in the bud. They're annoyed with the guy anyway. He's really getting on their nerves, and he has all this debt, and he's got a big mouth, so let's just kill him. Mob solutions, people.
Yeah. Just kill him.
Mob solutions. So, March 29th of 2005, this informant says that Robert McKelvey was lured to the Kreischer House basically they told him that they were going to have a mob meeting. They were having a mob meeting. The club was getting together.
We're not talking about a flash mob.
It was a flash mob meeting.
A flash mob meeting.
That's amazing. Can you imagine, like, if you had gotten the invite and you misunderstood it? And you were, like, dressed in neon and, like, ready to fucking dance
Just
to, like, Thriller?
I was going to say, showed up in, like, a Thriller costume.
I'm ready.
They're, like, ready to kill you.
And they're like, this guy's funny. I think we're going to keep him around. He's funny.
You're just singing.
Yeah. Yeah. So they tell him we're going to have this meeting. He shows up. There's 4 other guys there. And then we have Joseph Young, also known as Joe Black.
Joe Black.
Joe Black. So he's lured there. supposedly they're all standing in the great room of Kreischer House, and Joe Black, or Joseph Young, attempts to strangle Robert McKelvey. Doesn't work, so then he stabs him. That sort of works, but doesn't totally work. He drags him out of the house and over to a nearby pond and drowns him. And supposedly that is what finally does him in. There are also reports that say that his throat was slit, less able to substantiate that for reasons that you will come to understand shortly. Because after he was drowned in the pond, Joe Young supposedly brought Robert McKelvey's body back into the house, dismembered it along with the help of his 4 associates, and burned it in the furnace in the basement of Kreischer House.
Just adding to that negative energy.
Yep. So supposedly, according to this confidential informant, that's what happens. The FBI gets the information from him. They conduct their own investigation.
Robert wasn't your snitch, bitch.
For real, right? Because, okay, so that happened, again, remember, the informant went to the FBI in April of 2015. The murder was carried out March 29th, not 2015, April of 2005. The murder was carried out March 29th, 2005.
Yeah.
So that guy fucking rolled on that shit in, like, less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. Whoever was there.
Right? So FBI gets this information. They carry out their own investigation. In 2006, Joseph Young is arrested. There's kind of a lengthy court proceeding, and eventually in 2008, he's convicted of murder in aid of racketeering, and he is sentenced to prison for life. So he goes to prison. His other, the guy who squealed, he was protected. That's how it always goes. And then the other 3 guys, I believe, got some manner of prison time, but it's like actually kind of hard to find information on like what they got for being there.
And we're not gonna dive too deep into that.
Yeah, no, I don't have it for you. I did try to find it for you, but sorry, they're not my lead actor. Joseph Young is. So, yeah,
they're
so
supporting roles.
So yes, exactly. And they went off to prison or something. No, they
Or some other fine establishment.
No, this case is in some ways exactly typical of, I was reading a New York Times article. It's actually really good. The New York Times article about this case is really interesting. In some ways, it's very typical of mob behavior because, you know, you have that one guy who nobody really fucking likes, who kind of gets on everybody's nerves, and they're kind of like peeved with him anyway, and they're all committing crimes together, and they're like, how do we fucking get this dude off our back? He racks up a massive debt with the mob boss that he definitely can't pay, and then again, you have that tension of, is he gonna fucking roll over on us? So they just decide to take him out.
Yeah.
That is very typical and happens all the time in the mob, which is why I'm not fucking saying anybody's name on this episode, except the guy who's in prison for life. Don't escape. Just stay there. Listen to the Haunted Heart podcast.
He's probably not listening.
What if he was? What if he was like one of our biggest fans and he's like, thanks for covering my case.
Oh my God, guys.
Wow.
We get a letter in the mail.
I'd read it.
First of all, how'd you get our address?
We don't have one. So in that way, it's very typical. In other ways, it's atypical. And the New York Times article gets into more of that, of how Joseph Young is actually a black man, hence the nickname Joe Black, probably. And one of the accomplices that was there, reportedly, is Hispanic.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a lot of it surrounding race relations, and that's atypical for the mob to have those sorts of minorities included.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Joseph Young took the fall for this, when it really seems like it was a group activity, but the way that the witnesses spoke about it kind of put it all on him. And he was supposedly paid $8,000 for the hit, and they don't really know. It's unclear whether he was in charge of the hit and they were just there to help him.
Yeah.
And he did the actual murder. That's what they convicted him on. But it's dicey. Some people have expressed concerned that it was really more of a group activity that they all did together, and then he took the fall for it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds
because
like to me.
he's the minority.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. The New York Times article kind of gets into more of that angle of it, but it's a haunted house and a murder committed in a haunted house.
Yeah. Well,
which I thought was kind of interesting. For
yeah, and I think he was actually hired as the caretaker, right?
He was. So that's the connect. The reason that it was at Kreischer House, that's probably important. The reason that it was there is because Joseph Young at that time was acting as the caretaker of the Kreischer House property.
Which is creepy within and of itself, if you think about it. Like, you usually have, like, that trope, the caretaker of the old haunted house.
Creepy, yeah.
And then, in this case, the caretaker is actually a part of the mob.
Yes, yeah. Which means that the house was probably owned by, there's not a lot of information on who owned the house at that point in time.
I imagine it had to be
But it had to be somebody in the mob because he was a mob soldier.
Something.
He was established at that point. So, yeah, I think it was that type of situation. But having a body be dismembered there, as you said, kind of adds to that negative energy.
Right.
Now the house is owned by the town, and it's used for folk culture and arts, like events and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would love to go see it.
I think they do something around, special around Halloween time, too.
They fucking better.
Researched. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's in New York. So any of our New York listeners, just check that out. I would love to go see it. It looks like something out of Grimm fairy tales, like a Hansel and Gretel dream.
Hansel.
Yeah.
Hansel.
So.
Yeah.
Hansel.
So that is pretty much our episode. I did want to say that
that's pretty much it.
Pretty much
it isn't the episode, but it's pretty much the episode.
No, because I do have one last thing that I want to add. We are in October right now.
Yes.
So a lot of our episodes this month are going to be Halloween/October themed. So I wanted to make sure that I left you guys with a movie recommendation every episode that will be related to our theme.
Nice.
So my movie recommendation for you this week is Hell House LLC.
Oh, yeah.
So Hell House LLC is a 2015 American found footage horror film written, directed by Stephen Cognetti and produced by FBI Films.
Fuck yeah. I love it.
The film, shot as a documentary, follows a group of Halloween haunted house creators as they prepare for the 2009 opening of their popular haunted attraction, Hell House. Tragedy strikes on opening night when an unknown malfunction causes the death of 15 tour-goers and staff. The film reveals the lead up to the tragedy and documenting what exactly went wrong that night, which has been a mystery to the public. The film was released on a number of video-on-demand platforms, including Amazon Video, YouTube, Vudu, and iTunes. And they actually just released a sequel, Hell House LLC 2. Yes.
Oh, we gotta watch that one.
The Abaddon Hotel. And that was released exclusively on Shudder, which is like Netflix for horror.
Yeah, yeah. Shudder's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting that free trial so I can watch it.
Yeah. For real.
But I absolutely love this film. I cannot praise this film enough. Yes, it is found footage, but this is good
found footage. Yeah. I hear found footage, and that like buzzword kind of tends to turn me off because I'm not into that whole shaky cam experience. But this is good. It's well done.
This is good found footage. It is legitimately terrifying. Like, they have some really creepy, super, super creepy moments in the film. Plus, it's got that October-y vibe. And it's, it's got a little murder in it. It's got some paranormal. And it's definitely something that you should check out this October season.
Yes. So before we go, we got to tell you where the fuck we are. We are on Instagram at The Haunted Heart Podcast. We're on Twitter at The Haunted Heart. We are on Facebook. If you search The Haunted Heart Podcast, you will pull up our closed group. Please join. It's really cool. We're getting close to 200 members. We love every single person that's in there, and we have like really good discussion about content that we talked about on the show, and also about stuff that is like tangentially related that we didn't get to talk to you about on the episode. I'm struggling. I'm buffering up here. And also just about shit that we like spooky shit and haunted shit and, local cases of murder and mayhem and haunting. And it's just really cool environment. Facebook is really contentious nowadays and very heated. And this is like a cool place where we can all go and be spooky and not fucking scream
This
at
is
each
your
other.
safe, spooky space.
Yes. Remember, you have to have a safe space in order to have a scary space. This is kind of both.
Yes.
And it's great. Also, check us out on Patreon, www.patreon.com/thehauntedheart. There's a shitload of bonus material, you guys. We have been doing all kinds of videos, and there's even more stuff coming down the line for you guys on Patreon. Everybody Stay Spooky Squad, which is $5 a month and up, gets access to the bonus material on there, and it really is fun. You can talk to some of the folks in the Facebook group who are Patreon members, and I think they're having a good time.
I hope so.
We're having a good time making it for you guys. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah. And then the last thing, by the time this episode drops, you guys will already know about our super exciting news. We are doing an Instagram giveaway.
Yes.
To build up our Instagram community, because I feel like we spend a lot of time in our closed group on Facebook, and Instagram hasn't been getting a lot of love lately. So we're doing a giveaway. It's called the Stay Spooky Giveaway. If you go to our Instagram page at The Haunted Heart Podcast, you will see the post. It's from now through October 7th. And there's instructions on the post for how to enter. Basically, you repost it, tag a bunch of friends, and it helps us grow our platform too. So it's very cool.
Yes.
And plus, we get to give away a bunch of cool spooky merchandise.
Yes, from our new Stay Spooky collection.
Which is just for October.
Yes.
In honor of our favorite month. So we have a new Stay Spooky t-shirt. We have a Stay Spooky lip scrub, which tastes like toasted marshmallow and fucking s'mores fall realness around the campfire. And we also have our first ever enamel pin.
Yes, and I will note that both the enamel pin and the lip scrub are of a limited supply.
Yes.
So get them while you can. They're available on our website. If you go on thehauntedheart.com, click on that little merch box you will be able to find them.
Yes.
The pin is a pre-order at this moment. They are still in production, so keep that in mind. But all of the information is there that you can find when you're looking through everything. So
you can buy it one-off, or you can enter the contest. If you enter the contest, you get all three as the giveaway for the prize. Plus a bunch of other spooky shit that we're going to throw in just because we have a shitload of Halloween stuff and we want to share it with you.
Yes.
Because we are Halloween evangelists.
yes, we are. Halloween
Hallowevangelists.
is our lifestyle.
All right.
And
So
on that note,
we're just going to have to sign off now because this is the longest sign off ever. And the guy outside is now mowing grass.
Yep.
So if you can hear that, it's time for us to go the fuck back to bed.
time for me to recede back into my coffin.
All right, guys, we love you. And you know what you got to do till next time. You just got to
Stay spooky.